Sanjeevan K. Banerjee, brother, welcome to you. अनुसंधान के क्षेत्र में हम क्या क्या परिवर्तन ला सकते हैं, ट्रांसफॉर्मेशंस ला सकते हैं, क्योंकि हमारे समक्ष न सिर्फ साइंटिस्ट हैं, रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स हैं, इसके अलावा हमारे साथ स्पिरिचुअल लीडर्स भी होंगे। तो जो हम चाहते हैं कि एक बदलाव लावे, तो यही प्रश्न उठता है कि सिर्फ रिसर्च से हो सकता है, साइंस से हो सकता है, या साइंस और आध्यात्मिकता स्पिरिचुअलिटी के समन्वय से हो सकता है। तो इसी को लेकर के, यही विषय को लेकर के बहुत गहन रीति से विचार सागर मंथन भी किए होंगे। और इस सत्र को हम आगे बढ़ाते हुए हम निवेदन करेंगे कि पहले डॉक्टर संजीवन के बैनर्जी जी को इस विषय पर अपना विचार प्रकट करें। और हम भाई जी से रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं कि हालांकि उनका बायोडेटा बहुत बड़ा है, बहुत ही बड़े स्कॉलर हैं, संक्षिप्त में आपका परिचय देवे विथ ड्यू परमिशन। यस, थैंक यू सर। तो डॉक्टर संजीवन के बैनर्जी इज अ साइंटिस्ट एंटरप्रेनर having expertise in fundamental biological scientific research as well as applied translation research। तो उनकी जो competence है वो infectious diseases पर है, और फिर उन्होंने बहुत बड़े बड़े projects भी लिए हैं, and he has got great experience in handling research projects in India and internationally। So he is a professionally trained manager having deep insights and keen business acumen। तो उनका जो स्टार्टअप ये है वो है, he is the chairman of Epigenics Life Sciences Limited। स्टार्टअप कंपनी है, बायोटेक कंपनी है, और ये कंपनी जो है प्रिवेंटिव हेल्थ केयर टेक्नोलॉजी पर फोकस करता है। तो ये इन्होंने रिकॉम्बिटेंट एंटीबॉडी बेस्ड एंटी इन्फेक्शियस, इस पर भी बहुत सारा काम किए हैं। His current research focus is on development of novel biotherapeutics and diagnostics against drug resistance। His research programs have been funded by various organizations। Dr. Banerjee is an Indian national who has a PhD in biotechnology, MBA in marketing। He has worked in various reputed organizations। तो इसके अलावा उनकी रुचि बहुत ही अलग अलग क्षेत्र पर भी हैं। फंडामेंटल कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशंस इन द एरिया ऑफ इन्फेक्शियस डिसीज इनकम। ही वॉज इन्वॉल्व इन सक्सेसफुल आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ नोवेल ड्रग टारगेट्स फॉर इन्फेक्शियस डिसीजेस, वर्क फॉर हिज PhD डिसर्टेशन इन द इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ माइक्रोबायोलॉजिकल टेक्नोलॉजी, चंडीगढ़। He has also worked as a faculty in University of Calcutta। He has various publications to his credit। तो इनके बहुत ही पेपर्स पब्लिश हुए हैं। तो ऐसे महान हस्ती हमारे सामने है, उनका फिर से इस स्थान पर हम स्वागत करते हुए इस विषय पर उनका जो विचार है हम सबके समक्ष रखें। So I request Dr. Sanjeevan Banerjee to share his views। Thank you।
Thank you so much for the kind introduction and giving me the opportunity to speak here. So this is a new topic for me. I have never spoken to a spiritual audience before, and so I have been listening to the talks for the last couple of days, and one thing which emerged out, which is very clear in my mind, that there's something needs to be done to bring spirituality and science together. And we are not sure what. You know, people have been claiming, people are saying that science is blind without spirituality, spirituality is blind without science, lame without science. So, you know, I thought I would speak of something else, but a couple of hours ago, I wrote down my thoughts in a piece of paper on the back of the this experience form. I'm going to speak about these points here. So one thing is very clear now, that somehow science and spirituality has diverged. That was not always the case. Spirituality was very much a part of the science in the ancient world. We know of our science, but even in the Western sciences, during the age of Plato, Aristotle and Pythagoras, spirituality was a part of science. There's a term called Platonic, which means, you know, when somebody is connected with somebody through his or her soul. So that comes from, the name comes from Plato. But things changed in the 17th century when the Roman Catholic Church tried Galileo for proposing a new arrangement of the planets. They proposed that the sun was the center of the solar system and the earth revolved around the sun. And so that is the time when free-thinking individuals got, they got disillusioned with science, disillusioned with religion and the authority of the religion, the dogmatism of the religion. That was closely followed by formation of the Royal Society in 1660, and that promoted logical thinking. And then when Isaac Newton became the president of the Royal Society in the 17th century, things took a more rigid turn, because Isaac Newton actually for the first time quantitated the principles of gravity and how, he gave a logical explanation of how things worked, and he gave fixed values for the value of gravity, the value of G, and that could be replicated anywhere in the world. And so the belief in science got firmly established, and religion and spirituality got pushed out of that domain. And that was followed by philosophical developments. René Descartes coined the term, I feel, therefore I am, which actually removed the person from his surroundings. The concept of ego was born, the concept of ego was formalized, I feel instead of we feel. So these two developments, put the concept of materialism in science, the concept of ego in science, and so it diverged from spirituality. So that was followed by the publication of Origin of Species in 1859 by Charles Darwin, who removed the role of God in evolution. He said, we are a product of evolution that happens by mutations and natural selection, which is a result of struggle for survival of the fittest. So the role of God was removed from how we develop to human beings from other forms of animals. So briefly, spiritualism returned in the 20th century when Albert Einstein proposed his theories of general theory of relativity and special theory of relativity, which overturned the Newtonian concepts. In Albert Einstein's theories, time could be compressed, time could move forward, backward. He proposed something called space-time, where he added a fourth dimension, so there was space and time were intertwined and all that. That was closely followed by quantum theory by Niels Werner Heisenberg and people like that, who were deeply spiritualists, and they proposed a different model of the universe that people couldn't understand, so they turned to spirituality. But that thing again got overturned a few years later when molecular biology, that's the science I practice, got established. People could identify the factor that is responsible for evolution. We call that genes, and along with that, a lot of development happened in the area of neurobiology. It's still going on in recent years. Brain mapping is being done. We are trying to find out which areas of the brain are responsible for what activities. so as to understand how the whole universe works. So right now it's a time of materialism. We think we have a solution to all the problems by using principles of materialism, genes and chemicals and nerve connections, so that can explain how the world works. So, but then there are a lot of this materialistic science has a lot of shortcomings, and we are struggling because of that. Our science is not so good. We are not so productive because of this materialistic attitude, and we need to do something like this. So to do that, what we need to do is we need to first identify what are the problems. So that is what I've done in this piece of paper a couple of hours ago, and we need to think of ways how we can solve these problems. So the first thing is, the science is reductionist and materialistic. So that is what I discussed right now. Everything can be described in materialistic terms, and particularly after Darwin's species, during that time, 100 years ago, the pandemic happened, the World War I happened, so people lost their faith in God, and materialistic science got firmly entrenched in our psyche. So there are some benefits of materialistic science. Materialistic science says that there is no afterlife, so we need to enjoy our life fully. So that opened up our minds to all sorts of possibilities. We bettered our life, we conquered diseases, and we freed ourselves from the effects of dogmatic religion. So it's progressed very well. But then the problem with that was it resulted in a desensitization of the soul, and we felt lonely. We felt that we are not a part of the larger scheme of things, and it also gave rise to nihilistic and hedonistic characteristics in human beings. We became selfish. So that is one area that needs to be addressed by spirituality. So the second point is, nature is purposeless. Evolution has no goal or direction. Our lives have no meaning. So this is again a result of Darwin's theory of evolution, who said that we have survived because we are the fittest. There is a massive war going on amongst us, and the fittest of us are going to survive. Those who are not fit are not going to survive, or they are going to fall in a different niche. So there is of course you can understand the problem with that theory. However, evolution is not directionless. There is a direction to evolution, and life happens only when consciousness enters our being. And there is also a concept of entropy, which means that anything left to itself is going to crumble to dust. From an order, if left to itself, a disordered system will happen. Evolution is exact opposite of that. We see more and more complexity as life forms advance. The third point is, our behavior is driven by genes that are selfish. This concept came in 1975. There was a book by Richard Dawkins called Selfish Genes, and the theory was, when food was scarce, human beings fought against each other to assimilate as much resources as they could, so that they could feed their family, they could have more children, and everything was reduced to passing on the genes to the next generation. So this concept is known as the selfish gene, and this concept really did a lot of harm to science. I personally don't believe in that, because there are a lot of evidences which shows that genes like we are not selfish, and selfish gene actually resulted in the ills in our society, like colonialism, like slavery. All these things can be explained on basis of selfish genes. Even environmental degradation. Selfish gene naturally implies to acquire all the resources, we have to be selfish without any consideration for any other form of life or our natural environment. So this created a lot of disturbance in our society, and there was a company called Enron, which it was a very corrupt company. Their CEO, he formed his philosophy based on selfish genes. They created a lot of problems, so you can read about it if you want to. So the other point is, modern allopathic medicine that we practice, that is the only form of medicine we works. So the way we do that is, I also practice that right now. So I'm a scientist. So what we do is we identify a target in, say, a cancer cell, and we try to kill the cancer cell by attacking that target. So, and that is how medicines acquire value. You need to tell what target it is and what is the mechanism of action. But that is a fundamentally wrong way to work, because the human body is plastic and it changes. So you cannot really find a cure for diabetes or cancer using this approach. The moment you apply a drug to a particular target, the body is going to adapt, the cancer cell is going to adapt, or in my case, if I am developing an antimicrobial to kill a pathogen, to kill a tuberculosis bacteria, the bacteria is going to adapt so that the drug does not work anymore. We need to realize that there are a web of interactions in our body, and we need to attack all of that or part of that. That is what our traditional medicines do. The Ayurvedic medicines, the Unani medicines, they do that. The next point is, the next 2 points are related to the brain. Human brain is connected to the body by nerves and chemicals, and human brain produces memories. When we die, our memories disappear. The memories die with us. So we have, last 20, 30 years, lot of work has been done on the human brain. We have mapped the human brain. We have mapped different areas of the human brain that are responsible for different activities. For example, there's a place called hippocampus where memories are stored. There's a pineal gland, which is the seat of the soul. So we have done all this sort of work. But the problem is, memory is not stored in the brain. Memory happens in rhythmic patterns, and memory is like a hologram. Like hologram is like, if you try to recreate a hologram with a part of the hologram, you can recreate the hologram, but with a lesser resolution. So you might have something called fuzzy memory. You might recollect some things about some incidents, but you do not remember the whole everything of that. So that is how memory works. And as far as when we die, our memories die with us. That is also certainly not true, because we know the effect of karma, and our actions, the effect of our actions last in other lives that we take. Karma actually proves that the memories don't die with us. The last point I've noted down here is, human brain produces consciousness. That is a belief of the Western scientists, that human brains produces consciousness. Brain is a seat of consciousness. However, I personally feel that is not true, because of the experiences we have when we meditate. We have awakening experiences, and awakening experience is an experience I have not personally experienced, but I've been told that you suddenly everything becomes bright, everything loses their form, and everything intermingles with each other, and you become enlightened. Very few people experience awakening experiences in the deepest sense of the term, but awakening experiences shows that our minds tune into the consciousness, tune into the spirits that are around us, and so consciousness is not a product of the mind. And of course, we all of us have experienced telepathy. You're thinking of somebody and suddenly a phone call comes, so that is telepathy. You also might have experienced deja vu. You might have experienced something, some situation that's going to happen, and you have a premonition of that situation, so that is deja vu. So that's a very common experience in all of us. So that again shows that consciousness is not a part of the brain, and we need to cultivate habits so that we can experience these feelings and feel one with the universe. So that is, I have a few more points here, but I think my time is running out. So I would like to conclude here, and thank you so much for patient hearing. And if you have any questions, I can take it after this session is done. Thank you.
थैंक यू वेरी मच। तो भाई साहब ने बहुत ही सुंदर रीति से तो कैसे हम साइंस में हम आध्यात्मिकता की कमी देखते हैं, हर पॉइंट में उन्हें वैलिड पॉइंट्स बताते हुए उसको बहुत सुंदर रीति से जस्टिफाई किया। तो कैसे रिसर्च में और साइंस की रिसर्च में तो आई के बदले वी के बदले हम आई में आ गए। तो मुझे करना है, मुझे पाना है, मुझे ही अचीव करना है। तो भौतिकता और आध्यात्मिकता की समन्वय होनी चाहिए। और बहुत सुंदर रीति से उन्होंने एंट्रोपी का भी बात उठाया, कैसे हम ऑर्डर से डिसऑर्डर में चले जाते हैं और फिर डिसऑर्डर में ऑर्डर में लाने के लिए वो एक असीम शक्ति की आवश्यकता है। तो उसी को हम परमात्मा या सुप्रीम पावर कहते हैं, ऑलमाइटी पावर कहते हैं। तो हम आगे बढ़ते हुए हम रिक्वेस्ट करेंगे